20-year real estate attorney. I also, in prior years, was an estate attorney, and I did a lot of estate litigation. That's my background. My practice is now in real estate. I've had a broker's license for many, many years, and my personal situation is that I am a sandwich. I have a daughter in college, a son in high school, and I help take care of my mom and dad. And we have been through the decision tree, and early action is always better. After my grandmother passed away, my dad looked me right in the eyes and he said, I don't care what happens later, what I say, because my grandmother had dementia, what I do, I'm telling you, I trust you, you do whatever you need to do, which gave me great peace until I talked to him a couple of years ago about that conversation. He didn't remember. So these videos are great. Get videotape it. Have your friends, your family. You know, seriously. So here's the way I approach things. Obviously, we've all learned to use the internet. www, fill in the blank, and the world is your oyster. You can find information everywhere. So here's my little acronym. Is not www, it's www. That's what I look at every time I look at a situation. Jim's situation has so many issues, but you got to break it down. You got to figure out where you are and how you help the family move forward. Because otherwise, I am not a realtor that, you know, Jim's family calls and the wife calls, oh, he's having a problem, and I get out my listing book and I run over there ready to get a listing, and oh, I'm going to get that commission. Not the way to do it. So let's take a look at that. My www is, who is the client? What do they want? Where are they going to live? And what can they afford? And that's my 4 W's. So let's talk about Jim for a little bit. Who's the client? Based on some of these scenarios, I'm not quite sure, as was already expressed here, what Jim's capacity is. Heart surgery, not necessarily a capacity issue, but he has these other ideas. I mean, the brother coming up the driveway, okay, a little nervous. But it takes some analysis. That's not for me to do. That's not my business, but it needs to be done. We need to find out whether Jim has the capacity to make decisions. And then we also need to find out some basic facts. Who's on title to these properties? I'm dealing with the real property portion. What's he own? He has a house in Manhattan Beach that he's owned for 20 years, so it's appreciated greatly. It's a 3-bedroom, okay, nice size home. And then also he owns rural property in Paso Robles, nice area, vineyard country. Is it raw land? I don't know. Rural property doesn't tell me whether it's got a house on it, whether that's their vacation home, whether he leases it out to a vineyard. What is the character of each of the properties he owns? And so you can start to figure out, you can start to build a structure on what he has and where his assets. Then the next question is, so you find out title. It could be, I'm sorry, let me back up. It could be that his kids are on title with him. It could be that he put his wife on title and the kids don't know about it. So really, title and pulling a title report is really critical. Finding out, you know, if it is in a trust and all those other things that were discussed before. Then the question is, what's the client want? If Jim can sit with you and he knows exactly what he wants, where he wants to be, he wants to age in place, all those things, then you can address those and you move forward on that branch. If Jim doesn't have the capacity and you need to bring in family members, and you certainly need to talk to his wife, because you know she's a part. She has been chosen by him to share his life. So a lot of times you get kids who want to, you know, really join in sometimes too much, but he and his wife need to make some decisions. So if Jim does not have the capacity, you do need to reach out to the wife, and you need to reach out to the family who have the authority for his personal care, not his financial, but he has health directives. That's only health. There's nothing in here says that he has, that his children have financial control over him. So where's Jim going to be? His wife and he are obviously at different spots. So one of the options is to age in place. If there's an aging in place situation, as was discussed before, what do you need to do to make the home safe and to work for both of them? Because they're both going to be living in this home. And how close is it to medical? Are there steps? Is their bedroom on the 3rd floor? How much time do they spend in Paso Robles? Maybe it's a vacation home. Maybe they spend 6 months up there and 6 months down here. After tax season, they go up for a couple months. You need to find all those things. Maybe the place in Paso Robles is a beautiful rural single-level home that has a hospital down the street and a lovely community. You need to search those. What have they been identifying as their personal residence? That has you put that little tax bucket over there, and you got to look at that one and then open it up later. And let's say that the decision is made that they are going to age in place. Then you need to bring in people who are competent in actually addressing the home situations. Anybody looked at the Kohler new advertisements on the internet? Everybody seen these? Fabulous stuff, absolutely amazing. It used to be that all your, grab bars and bathtubs and everything really looked like a hospital. And the stuff they have now is absolutely gorgeous. So it's entirely possible that you just remodel the home and they get their dream home and they get to stay there. Perhaps that's not the case. Perhaps he does have to go to an assisted living. Perhaps you sell that home or rent it, which is another option, and they collectively go to a community that is over 55 that has more accommodations. They go to a community that allows for aging in place differently, that has hospital or skilled nursing care, but will allow the wife to stay in the home longer. There is a cornucopia of options about where they go, which we haven't got the time to go over because there's so many. There's fabulous options and there's some fabulous facilities and places. It may be that they move to a different state to get to a lower cost facility and be closer to the kids. There's just a wonderful array. The next question is, what can they afford? And so you have to go through all these options, decide really what's the best. And very true, it's been said here before, it can't be the best for another year, okay? You really got to, at this point, look at long-term planning. What is going to be the best, and maybe in stages, but you've got to try to look at all those stages in the future. So then the question is, what can they afford? And then you've got to look at the properties themselves. If they're not going to live in either one of the properties, what have you got? What kind of condition there are? How much income will a three-bedroom Manhattan Beach property bring in? Depends on condition. Do you need money to remodel? Do you need a really major fix-up because for 20 years Jim's not lifted a screwdriver? And what's the same situation? You have to ask the same situations with the Paso Robles home. So is it fix it up? Is it major remodel, fix it up? Or can you rent it just as is? Or the next question is, do you sell it? You have to know which of their properties is a personal residence. What's the character of the other property? Is it a vacation home? Is it income property? And then when you go to sell it, all these questions are important because you have capital gains issues. Can you transfer their real property basis to another home in another county? So he pays real estate property taxes based on 20 years ago. Can he move that to the next home? Very valuable. Can he exchange the other property, buy something that yields more income? All these questions come into play, and you really have to understand what Jim wants, whether he has capacity, where does he want to live, and then what have you got in terms of assets? What's the net bottom line of all these decision tree answers, so you know if you can come back to his favorite choice and actually execute on that plan. Thank you.
Thank you. What I'm getting out of this is, wow, we have resources that I'm feeling actually really positive. I thought this might be kind of depressing this morning, but I am so not depressed. And I think everybody has to be a redhead, except maybe Sandy. It's like, why do you have to be a redhead to be interested? Okay, what I'd like to hear just briefly is from Jim and Susan, literally 5 minutes. And then if you have questions, please raise your hand, and Terry will pick up if you have a piece of paper, or Shirley.